Hi everyone, Sunstrider here and I'm back. After a month of not posting a video, today I'm going to present to you my impression on Genshin Impact's recent element, the Dendro elemental reaction. Yes, I was hooked the first time I got back to this game and having trouble in between making the script and playing the game. But here I am today and let's go. So I made a video about me going back to Genshin Impact after a long break and tried Tower of Fantasy. On that video, I talked about my struggle in fighting Signora as a returning player with bad team comp and felt a strong excitement thinking after that fight I could travel to Sumeru.
Got him!
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case because I had to clear that long and tiring Chasm World Cast and the main Archon Cast with Slave. Once I finished that story, I finally had the opportunity to explore Sumeru and see how hyped the main character is now. Obviously, I could use Collei to try out Dendro Element reaction and why it's good, but since a lot of videos on YouTube says that the main character is now OP, let's just take the meta and see. As I'm late to the party, I'm not going to talk about Dendro Elemental Reaction in general because obviously there's enough videos on YouTube covering that topic. What I'm going to talk about today is how I'm adapting to the current Elemental Reaction comp as a returning player. As you guys would have known, Dendro Elemental Reaction only includes interaction between Dendro with the other three elements of Pyro, Electro, and Hydro itself. Now, as a Ganyu main, this is something troublesome because I was so used to her carrying the entire team and have not invested in any other unit than her and Daylok. With Ganyu out of the team comp consideration, I was left with two options, either to build a new Electro and then the trim comp or work with I currently have, which is not much, and that's to play the Burgeon Elemental Reaction. As you watch this video, you'll see that this problem could be solved easily if only I invested myself in some Electro unit way before patch 3.0 came out. Luckily, I do have some Electro units standing by and in high demand in the current patch, Catching and Visual. For the record, I did invest in my Catching back then, but not to the point where she is being relevant given how irrelevant she was in earlier patches.
Why would you say that?
The same goes for Visual. Visual was one of the 4-star Electro units that I pulled when I first started the game, and quickly replaced when I got to pull the other 5-star unit. As if my problem isn't enough, I also need to invest on Aethers, and as you guys know, it's not going to be cheap. After scavenging my artifacts and trying to equip Catching and Aether with the best set, substats, and of course, leveling them up properly, I dared myself to take these two units to explore Teyvat and fight Hilichurls. And some Fatuis as well. Before we move on to the next part of the video, I think it would be a good idea to talk about my team comp, their weapon, and artifacts build. So, for my Dendro Electro team comp, I'm running Sucrose, Aether, Catching, and Mona.
What?
Some of you might ask why Mona, but we are going to save that question to the latter part of the video. My Sucrose is using Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers with the Instructor artifact set, Aether is using Freedom Sworn on the weapon and Noblesse Oblige, Catching with the Thundering Fury and Lion's Roar, and Mona with the Wild Set and the Exile set. Expectedly, I couldn't see the potential of Aggravate reaction just yet because there's a huge level gap between my team comp and the world mobs. That aside, seeing new elemental reactions does provide a fun experience to me as I've previously played Genshin Impact early and kinda bored with how monotone the elemental reaction is. Going back to my team comp and their build, I'm going to try to explain to you guys my idea behind its equipment in order for me to maximize the current elemental reaction. So the first one, Sucrose. As a support and crowd control, Sucrose's role is to set up the initial elemental reaction for a better follow-up by the DPS. On top of that, her passive also gives a 20% elemental mastery boost based on her elemental mastery, and that's where the Exile artifact set come to play. I'm equipping Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer on her because at Refinement level 5, it gives a total of 48% attack increase after switching characters. To me, this is perfect a weapon for Sucrose because we won't be seeing her doing anything except her skill and switching back to the next characters. Moving to Aether's weapon. We equip Freedom Sworn that will give 20% increased attack damage once we got to Sigil of Rebellion after we trigger Elemental Reaction. I just realized one thing when I made this video, and that's whether or not it will stack with Tales of Dragon Slayer's passive. But yeah, whatever. Now for the artifacts, I actually have a mixed feeling on equipping Noblesse Oblige on him because of the 4 set bonus. Equipping 4 sets will increase your party attack by 20% for 12 seconds, and this effect does not stack. Is it the best course of artifacts that we can put on him? Well, when I first equipped the set, I didn't know how it will synergize with the other artifacts, but after careful consideration, Noblesse Oblige is the suitable match for my team because I'm running Aggravate Team Comp, which benefits from Electro Attack.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
For Mona, initially, I didn't put any thought on her because I wasn't aware of the overall Dendro elemental reaction. But after I realized that Dendro mid Hydro causes Bloom, I'm adjusting my playstyle because 1, I don't have another Electro unit to maximize the Aggravate reaction, and 2, I don't have any strong Hydro applier in my current team comp, and with that, yeah, so Mona works. After a lot of sacrifices in building my Electro and Dendro team, I finally reached the point where my Aggravate reactions is relevant enough for me to take on Fatui mobs, agent, and even deal noticeable damage to Syro Regisven. Now, as good as it sounds, there's still something that I'd like to point out in building Aggravate team comp. As a free-to-play player, your Dendro character will be limited to Aether and Kolei, and both of their skills lack the AoE it needed to effectively apply Dendro element to the enemy. Take a look at Aether's skill. The attack range is so narrow and short that if you're not careful like me, you'll find yourself not applying Dendro to the enemy and not properly setting up for your DPS. The same goes for Kolei as well. With her straight attack pattern, you might want to consider bringing another code control to effectively apply Dendro on the enemy. On top of that, their cooldown is kinda too long for me, so in case you miss your skill, then you're left with no choice but to wait. Good thing that Aether's burst deals an okay damage at low level, allowing me to see Dendro plus Electro reaction sooner. As a returning player who heavily relies on Ganyu to clear the game content and without any usable Electro unit, building an Aggravate team is a challenging thing given how limited my resources were. The challenge comes from building both Aether and Kaching simultaneously. With Artifact's domain being limited by days, I had to be very patient in seeing my Aggravate team's growth. Aside from that, XP books also become a challenge given how much it is required for a character to level up. Now, out of pure coincidence, I triggered Bloom reactions and then just realized that Dendro has more reaction than Spread and Aggravate, which is Bloom. That's going to depend on what triggers them, will trigger Hyper Bloom and Burgeon. And with those two elemental reactions, it's time to explore the possibilities. To me, the existence of Hyper Bloom and Burgeon provide ways for players to experiment and flexibility to adapt to the Dendro meta. Like me, for example, who doesn't have any solid Electro unit yet, I can mitigate this by using Mona as a Hydro applier and still experience Dendro reaction. While Hyper Bloom reaction creates a homing projectile that can chase the enemy, dealing Dendro damage, Burgeon is kinda lazy and decided to explode from the last location where the elemental reaction is triggered. It's true that Burgeon does deals a good amount of damage, but the fact that the explosion stays there after being triggered by Pyro might be something that you want to consider when you're playing a Burgeon reaction. As someone who is still building their Electro unit, I had no way but to use Diluc as the only strong Pyro unit to trigger Burgeon, and as you guys would have expected, I struggle a lot in doing this. It's mainly because of the Dendro cores that are stationary there after being triggered and the enemy that keeps moving around. Well, considering that no enemies are willingly take damage from us, as a Burgeon player, you need to time your Hydro plus Dendro elemental reactions perfectly in order for you to spawn your Dendro cores at the right location and then follow up by your DPS. In conclusion, the arrival of Dendro elemental reaction does provide a new experience for me as a returning player. This element also allows us to explore and flexibly build our character. In my case, before 3.1, I always relied on my Ganyu to explore and finish the game content. This is somewhat boring and even became one of the reasons why I quit Genshin Impact previously. But now, I get to explore Dendro's elemental reactions and try to be a better player and enjoy the game by building different team compositions. I mean, who doesn't get excited to play catching again and be relevant in the current patch, right? Maybe it's all because I'm simply missing Genshin Impact's playstyle and music, or maybe Dendro is just too good, which made me enjoy the game even more. Who knows, all that matters is now that I can have fun once again playing this game. What do you guys think? Make sure to leave your like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you are a new returning player like me, what do you guys think? Comment below and let's discuss.